Is there any evidence for our reality?
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Like, can we prove that this is all real? I guess we should be asking what evidence even means. Evidence is the available body of facts or information indicating whether a belief or proposition is true or valid. But when asking whether we can prove reality is true or valid, that system kind of breaks. It's like a circular definition. Reality is real because reality said it was real. All available evidence for reality is housed within reality, much like a person trapped in a room. If such a person was asked a question that required outside information, then they wouldn't be able to adequately answer the question. I'm sure that hasn't stopped some of you from saying either yes or no already to that question. If there is evidence for our reality, we can have access to it, and so the only answer we can give is that we think, therefore we are. Everything else has to be understood as best available evidence. Scientific theories, and even facts are all, to the best of our species' collective knowledge, things to be true, but under the forever caveat of, but we can't know for sure. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Thoughts. I'm Joe Van, and in this video, I'll be going over a topic I've already made a thoughts piece about: reality. I just thought I'd expand on the subject because the subject is a pretty broad one. The way I want to do so is by going over great thinkers of the past's theories, thought experiments, and allegories. I picked the top 5 on reality, in my opinion. So, without any further ado, let's jump in, and I hope y'all enjoy. In Plato's famous work, The Republic, he presents a metaphorical story known as the Allegory of the Cave. In this allegory, Plato describes a group of people who have been imprisoned since birth in a dark cave facing a wall. They are unable to see the outside world and can only perceive shadows cast on the wall by objects passing behind them. Plato uses this allegory to illustrate his philosophical theory of forms, where the shadow represents mere appearances or illusions, while the true reality lies beyond the cave. Plato's allegory has been subject to various interpretations by scholars and philosophers throughout history. Here are a few common interpretations. One interpretation focuses on the nature of knowledge and education. The cave represents the realm of ignorance and illusion, where people are trapped and only perceive shadows. The outside world represents the realm of true knowledge and understanding. The allegory suggests that education is the process of turning away from the shadows and ascending toward the realm of true knowledge. 2. The allegory is often seen as a commentary on the difference between the world of appearances and the world of true reality. The shadows on the cave wall represent illusory nature of sensory perception, where the objects in the outside world represent the true form or ideas that give rise to those appearances. 3. Another interpretation connects the allegory of Plato's ideal of philosopher kings. According to this view, the prisoners in the cave represent the general population who are ignorant and deceived. The philosopher kings are those who have escaped the cave and attained true knowledge. They have a responsibility to return to the cave and guide the prisoners toward enlightenment. 4. The allegory can be seen as a metaphor for the journey of liberation and enlightenment. The prisoners who escape the cave represents the individual who frees themselves from social constraints and achieves intellectual freedom and self-realization. And 5. Finally, some interpretations emphasize the allegory as a critique of reliance on the senses. The cave represents the limitations of sensory perception and the idea that true understanding can only be attained through reason and rational thought. The brain in the vat theory, also known as the brain in the jar, or René Descartes' evil demon hypothesis, is a thought experiment used in philosophy to explore questions about knowledge, perception, and reality. The theory was popularized by philosopher Hilary Putnam in the 1980s. The basic idea behind the brain in a vat scenario is as follows. Imagine that your brain has been removed from your body and placed in a vat of nutrient-rich liquid, kept alive and functioning. The brain is then connected to a supercomputer that simulates a complete virtual reality, creating artificial sensory experiences that are indistinguishable from what you would experience in the physical world. According to the brain in the vat theory, all of your perceptions, thoughts, and experiences are merely simulations generated by the supercomputer. In this scenario, you would have no way of knowing that you are actually a brain in a vat and that the world you perceive is not real. This thought experiment raises fundamental questions about the nature of reality and the reliability of our perceptions. If our experiences could be generated artificially and manipulated, how can we know if our perceptions accurately reflect the external world? The brain in a vat scenario challenges our understanding of knowledge, the nature of existence, and the reliability of our senses.
Okay.
The concept of the Noumenon, also known as the thing in itself, is primarily associated with the German philosopher Immanuel Kant. Kant introduced the Noumenon as a key concept in his philosophical system, particularly in his work Critique of Pure Reason, published in 1781. According to Kant, the Noumenon refers to the thing as it is in itself, independent of our perceptions or conceptual frameworks. Kant argued that our knowledge is limited to the realm of phenomena, which are objects of our sensory experience and are structured and organized by our cognitive faculties. Kant distinguished between the noumenal realm, which is beyond the limits of human knowledge, and the phenomenal realm, which is the world as it appears to us. He posited that while we have knowledge of the way things appear to us, we cannot have direct access to the thing as they exist in themselves. The Noumenon represents the inaccessible reality underlying our experiences, and Kant argued that we can only have knowledge of the phenomenal world as it is shaped by our mental and sensory faculties. He claimed that the Noumenon is beyond the scope of human perception and understanding. The concept of the Noumenon was significant in Kant's philosophical system, as it addressed questions about the limits of human knowledge and the nature of reality. It influenced subsequent philosophical discussions, including debates about the nature of consciousness, the mind-body problem, and the philosophy of perception. Dualism is a philosophical concept that proposes the existence of two fundamental substances or principles that are fundamentally distinct from each other. It often arises in discussions about the nature of body and mind, consciousness, and the relationship between the physical and the mental. In the context of mind-body dualism, the most well-known form, it suggests that the mind and body are two separate entities with distinct properties. According to this view, the mind, or consciousness, is non-physical, while the body is physical. This position contrasts with monism, which asserts that the mind and body are ultimately the same substance, or that only one substance exists. René Descartes, a prominent philosopher of the 17th century, is known for his formulation of substance dualism. He argued that the mind and the body are two separate substances that interact with each other. Descartes famously stated, "I think, therefore I am," emphasizing the existence of the thinking mind as distinct from the extended physical body. Dualism raises philosophical questions about how the mind and body interact, how mental events relate to physical events, and the nature of consciousness. Various criticisms have been raised against dualism, including the challenge of explaining the causal interaction between the mental and physical realms. In the context of our everyday experience, we perceive and interact with three spatial dimensions: length, width, and height. These dimensions allow us to describe and navigate objects in our physical environment. However, in certain scientific and mathematical contexts, the concept of additional spatial dimensions beyond the three we experience have been explored. The idea of a fourth spatial dimension can be traced back to the work of several mathematicians and thinkers. One of the earliest mentions of a fourth dimension can be found in the writings of 19th century mathematician Carl Friedrich Gauss. who suggested the possibility of higher dimensional spaces. The idea arises in the field of mathematics, particularly in geometry and theoretical physics. Mathematically, it is possible to consider spaces with more than 3 dimensions, but it's important to note that these dimensions are not directly observable or experimental in our everyday lives. In physics, various theories and models, such as string theory and certain formulations of quantum gravity, propose the existence of extra spatial dimensions. These theories suggest that there may be additional hidden dimensions beyond our 3-dimensional space, which can explain certain phenomena and help unify fundamental forces in the universe. From a scientific standpoint, the existence of additional spatial dimensions beyond the 3 we experience is a subject of ongoing investigation and theoretical exploration. It is important to distinguish between mathematical models and actual physical reality. While the concept of a 4th spatial dimension is a fascinating area of study, its existence and nature are yet to be firmly established by empirical evidence. So, there you have it. Other people's foundational thoughts about reality that have shaped modern society. Whether it's been used for good, such as in the mathematical world behind quantum physics, or for ill, like in how people use the uncertainty of evidence to disclaim better scientific theories just to propose outlandish alternatives. The whole vague field of philosophy was our species' first crack at science, and it shows how different fields of science started as thought experiments, and how it still stands today as a strong field, used to structure how we use logic. To question is to begin to understand. Sometimes the questions don't lead to answers, and that's okay. We don't need to know everything. And in the case of whether we can know for sure that reality is true, separated from our own perceptions, I think it is answered in a conclusive, inconclusive. Certainty only exists if you choose it within yourself. Thoughts and actions. Don't only live with one. Find the healthy balance. You know how it is. Life, space, the great unknowns. They're not going anywhere, so no rush. And with that, we have come to the end. I appreciate you guys as always for being here. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Thoughts. Make sure to like and subscribe for more. I wish nothing but love for y'all and ask you to remember to keep on thinking. Thanks, and until next time, ciao for now. Peace.